You wonder what happens to when one kid does well and the other one doesn't. It just you
Yeah,
just can't predict what the outcome is going to be for all of your children.
yeah.
You try to teach them the right thing to do what they're supposed to do, but invariably, sometimes one or two of them decides to go another direction.
Yeah, they tried so hard to keep him going in the right direction, and
Mm,
I
mm,
think he had some problems. I don't know what they were, but he did fit in pretty well with the Connecticut gang, and they
mm,
were very
mm.
happy with that. But you know what happens at that age.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
Oh
wish
yeah.
he were around today.
Oh my goodness. Well, at least his wife is still here, and she's
Yes.
still very active. And I think Major League Baseball really has done an excellent job in, you know, recognizing him and his
Yeah.
accomplishment and what he had to go through
Yeah.
in order to get out there on that field and still play with all of the adversity that he faced off the field, as
Oh
well as
yeah.
on the field. But a lot of it off the field was just, it was horrendous what was happening to him. But he kept his composure and stayed focused on what his mission was and what uh, what's his name, Ricky wanted him to
Branch
do.
Rickey. Yes. And he
And
got him
so
in
it
and
takes,
kept him in.
woo, Lordy. So anyway,
Yeah.
baseball changed since then. Now I was reading an article the other day that less than 6% of baseball players are African Americans now. Less than 6%.
Wow.
And that was when he was playing. It was less than 6%. And
Yeah.
then it did go up to 23% at some point when Reggie Jackson and Winfield and all those other guys were playing. It was up to 23%. But
Right.
now
Okay.
it's back down to 6%, and they're saying, what can baseball do to make sure that African American individuals get a chance to play in the game and learn the game and appreciate the game? And because the baseball has lost a lot of its luster in terms of getting young kids interested in it. There's if your father and mother are interested, then the kids get interested in it. But
Sure. Of
um,
course.
and so that's an issue. And they were saying that the existing players must begin to help market uh, Major League Baseball because if you ask the average kid now who's the top baseball players, who they are, you'd be hard to get them to name three of the top five.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah. Um,
But if you ask them about football
yeah.
or basketball, they could tell
They're
you right
right
up
in.
front.
Yeah.
So baseball's got to do a lot to again to market themselves to all of the total communities. So anyway,
Well,
not to
that's
get off.
interesting. I didn't think it was that low. I thought it was still
Yeah,
relatively high. So,
no, it's very good because we have a lot of the Afro Spanish individuals who are in playing baseball now.
okay.
And while you may not even hear them speak, but you would think because of the color of their skin, people may assume that they are African Americans. But a lot of them are coming from, I think, to Costa Rica and what's the other place? It's Panama and a lot of countries
Oh,
like that. So they're doing a great job in playing the game, but it's the African Americans have to really get back involved in it, and there's got to be a concerted effort to help the youngsters to appreciate baseball because the report also indicated that Major League was going to make sure that equipment become more available to inner city youngsters,
right.
like baseball gloves and bats and balls.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that
So
works. So,
I'd hope so. I hope so. Who else is on? We the only one? George is on. I don't see George. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Neil. Good afternoon.
there's
Yeah, there
George.
he is. I don't see you, George.
I'm
You in the car?
I'm in town hall, along with Mark.
Okay, but okay.
Yeah, we're waiting for one more person.
All right.
we have 6.
Yeah, John, I think we have 7. We're waiting for one more. I've got it's myself. I saw Eddie, Andrea, Neil, Mark is here with me. Yourself and Rudy.
All right, I don't see. All right, Marcus with you. All right,
Yeah, if
so
anybody's
we're
on that
just
I didn't
missing
call out,
one, right?
if anybody's on that I didn't call out, please speak up and we'll get started. Good evening, everybody. I've got 540, 541. I believe Magali signed on, so we do have a quorum. Let's take roll call. I'll go by the order in the agenda, as I'm the first one there. So, George Alvarez. Eddie, I think you're next. John, go ahead and call it then. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I don't have the agenda available open. I didn't have it open. I'm sorry
okay.
about that.
John.
So yeah,
I'm
I'm here.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have George, we have Eddie, Steve. No, Steve. Alex Castro. And Elizabeth Cotto. Wow. Jose Llano. Jessica Medina. Romy. Oh, Andrea Bechichi. Okay. Neil Robinson's here. Mark
Here.
Gomez.
Present.
Magali. Magali. Don Tingle, okay. Rudy.
I'm here.
Rudy. So we got a few missing here. I don't know. The question mark on Magali. So I'm missing Alex, Stephen, Elizabeth, Jose,
A lot
Romy.
of people.
Do we have enough?
We lost
If we don't have Magali, we don't have enough, I believe.
It looks like Magali was logging in, which is why we started, but I think we've lost her. All right, so we don't have a quorum, but I was advised that we can go through the agenda. We just can't vote on anything, since we're here and to be able to at least get updates. Is that correct, Willie?
Chairman, no action can be taken until we get the 8th members to join. If you want to go through the agenda, you can, but no action can be taken.
Okay, no comments on the minutes either?
No.
Okay. So, as far as order of business, we'll be moving things around a little bit. Anything that needs to be voted on, we obviously will not cover. There's no public comments from what I see.
No public comments at this moment.
We'll skip the approval of the minutes since we don't have a quorum right now. Old business, the BTR and establishing the town business database. Just an update on that. I know that's we're close.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're still working on developing the list. Actually, the document, the list is already made. Once we have everything, all the information together, it will be shared with the committee.
Okay, thank you. Do you need any input from the committee or any members of the committee?
We will need some assistance from the committee members to compile some of the information that we don't have on hand. But first we need to get the list formatted and so forth. And we are working with the building department to get that information all together.
Is it recommended to do that in a subcommittee format, or?
We could discuss having a subcommittee and assign, once we have the master list formatted.
So we'll take that up on the next meeting. Local intel, I put that in there as feedback and updates. I looked at it. I went through it, visited a lot of the links on there. I think it looks pretty good. I intend to leave it under old business in case there's ever any suggestions or recommendations that we can consistently improve what we're doing or add anything to it. Is there any feedback or comments from anyone present regarding local intel? All right, we'll move on to the business newsletter. That went out. I saw the new logo on there. It looked good to me. If there's any, want to give us a quick update on that? When we got to tee up the next one?
We the newsletter looked amazing, Chairman, and thank you. Have a great response on social media and our email list. Very soon we'll send out. It's every 3 months, so we'll send out a reminder email to all the committee members to submit their categories. I know Mark has been in communication with us regarding his assignment, and thank you, Mark, for volunteering those items. But I'll send out an email with everybody's new assignments, and if there's any corrections to be done, just email me back, and then we'll make those adjustments.
Okay, excellent.
And then, yes, and the new logo looks amazing too, by the way. Thank you, Chair.
Any comments from anyone on our committee regarding that? Right, having heard none, we'll move on. The next item is the shop local video. Looks really good, in my opinion. I went live, I believe, on the 9th. I've seen it, linked to our Economic Development Committee webpage, along with other links that we have on there. So that's come together nicely. Good job. Any additional feedback from that, Willie, or anybody from our committee?
I had a chance to view it as well. It really looks good. I think it really represents why people should shop locally here in Miami Lakes. It's really very well put together. And thanks staff for their hard work and the person who put it together. Yep. Thank you.
Great exposure of our main street and the core of our town here. So I liked it. So thank you for all the input there. The business of the month guideline. I'm sorry,
Mr. Chair. I'll comment real quick, just to reiterate. I did really think that video was awesome. Great shop local video. I would like to see us do maybe another video that would be, or a series of videos that maybe highlight the different type of, like we have a great medical, we have a lot of good, like for example, we're like more data, like we're home to the headquarters of two large banks. We have a large medical section. We have a large industrial. Miami Lakes, has a humongous industrial section, light industrial, that a lot of people don't even realize because they see all the trees and the way the Grams did a great job of laying it out. It kind of hides the industrial, which is good from an aesthetic standpoint. But I think it's a beautiful industrial park that we have that we should be able to do some videos on that as well. So I guess like my point is just try to do some videos that would be like specific to some of the key markets, and why a business would want to relocate here, and maybe highlight how we have such a wide variety of housing options, everything from 2-bedroom apartments, 1-bedroom apartments, all the way to luxury estate homes.
That's a great idea. I guess we can run multiple videos, depending on where you hit the link, whether it's in the shopping or more in the industrial. That's a great idea. Well, it's noted, and we'll discuss it with staff, see if we could how we could do that for the next one.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I think that going to that point, I think that it would be a good idea to maybe also do some sort of a promotion on social media where we boost those videos and really get them circulating. So like that we can get folks to really invest in Miami Lakes. So I think that that'll be a good idea to hopefully use the tools of social media to get those videos circulating a little bit further.
Thank you. Well, I guess we'll discuss that with Brandon as well, see what ideas come from there. But I like the multiple videos highlighting our different businesses and different, especially the industrial and even the residential piece. When people want to open a business here, they see what we have available. It's a great idea, Mr. Blanco.
Mr. Blanco, I took those notes and thank you. Thank you for sharing those slots.
Anything else regarding the video? Any other comments or input from anyone? All right, having said none, we'll move on. Business of the month guidelines, I left that in there. I know in the last meeting we included some suggestions from John. It's still kind of an open item as we lead up to selecting business of the month. So if there's any ideas, please submit them to Willie and we'll incorporate them
Right.
to this for a discussion at a later date.
Currently, you guys should have received the Excel sheet that outlines every business spotlight, which are the best of Miami Lakes. So each of the best of Miami Lakes will be featured every month until we go through that list. So yes, please email me your thoughts on the selection process, and then we'll take it from there.
Hey, Willie. Hi, Willie John.
Go ahead.
I think we should start somewhere on this thing. One of the items I think I brought up was, should we go after a firm that's here for 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years? There are firms that we spotlight that have been here for years, but maybe there are new firms from a year or two that are doing well. We just don't know about them. I think the feedback has to come back from, through the staff and the town and even our own committee. That might be one of the starting points we should, sort of work on. Should we start at the old firms that have been here for 20 or 10 years, or the new ones coming in? I thought that might be a suggestion to start this thing off. That
John, that's a
there are
good.
new firms, so.
John, that's a good point. And once the BTR, the new format of the BTR is put together, we can we'll have company history there too, and we can use that history to determine those factors.
Yeah.
That's a good point, John.
Yeah, we should at least start off someplace on it.
Thank you, John.
All right.
So again, please submit any ideas that we have so we can start putting that
One-
together.
One quick idea just popped into my head about that as far as ideas is using that same format of like what we're doing now is selecting the winners, right? That's the eight winners. That's what we're doing now. That's great. What if the other 4 spots were done by simply raffling the spaces of the nominees, right? So that way we're not doing applications and it just kind of simplify the process for staff. Put the other remaining names of all the nominees that obviously aren't the winners, and then just raffle it up and pick one, and those 4 get in and done. Just an idea.
Just to clarify, so who submits the nominees though? I mean, it would be from the general public, from our committee, from the businesses?
Sorry. Right now, to get to the best of Miami Lakes, there's a list of nominees, and then in each category, and then there's the winner. And what we would choose to do is use the 8 winners to fill the 8 calendar spots. We have 4 remaining calendar spots. My proposal is that you take the list of nominees, raffle them, pick 4, and those are the 4 extra spots that we put. And we do that every year. That way, the public is the one making those determinations. It alleviates staff from having to have a system. It doesn't, it depoliticizes the process. It doesn't, there's no application. There's no need for us to get applications. It's already done. The public already kind of found these businesses and highlighted them through the Best of Miami Lakes nominations and awards. Does that make sense?
I got it. Yeah, it was from the remaining businesses.
So in a
Correct.
sense, Chairman, we take all the nominations,
Yep.
which we have more than 12 this year. So
Okay.
the 8 winners, then we add those 4. That's a great point,
Yep.
Eddie.
That's a good way to approach it.
Yeah, there's like 8 categories, right? I think there's 8 categories, and then there's like 5 nominations per category. So a lot of people to choose from. They're already there. They're already been selected by the public. Already been vetted by staff, right? Like to be nominee, you have to be like you have to have all your ducks in a row as a business lined up with the city and all that.
Yeah, no, I like that process, and it eliminates, like you said, the
Mr. Chairman, I believe Magali Rubio has logged in. Magali, you there?
I guess I say good evening, but I guess nobody heard me.
We didn't hear you, Magali. Welcome. We need you here tonight. So you do
Okay,
have now a quorum, Chairman.
okay, great.
We can move with the minutes if you like.
All right, so as far as the business of the month, I liked what Eddie suggested. We could add that at our next meeting Or can we vote on that now that we have a quorum? Okay.
I can't hear George.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you very well either.
No, the button's green. Can you hear me now?
Nope.
No. Try yours. See if it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you here.
Yeah. I can hear myself in here. I don't know if
you
they
can
can
hear
hear
me there in here as well now.
faintly.
It's weird. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you a little better, George.
All right, so I'll use two of these.
Hi, thank you.
All right, so let's we'll go back to the minutes now that we have quorum. Did everyone have a chance to review them?
Yeah, I'll move the.
Yeah, I have
okay.
one correction. We called the meeting to order. I believe it was 5:35 versus 3:35.
Oh, did I say that?
But that's the only thing that really stood out to me.
Okay. So Willie, you
move-
want to correct that? Or I can send you a note just to correct the time.
Thank you, John. Yeah, just remind me tomorrow and I'll change that.
All right.
I move approval of the minutes
Yeah, I'll second.
with that change.
All right, so the minutes are approved. Moving on. Going back to the business of the month, Eddie Blanco had a good suggestion there. Can we make a motion to add that, or does that have to be put in the new business for next month? To do it the proper way.
You can
We-
you can there could be a motion if you can you can have it moved and added if everybody agrees.
Yeah. So Eddie, you want to make it, and then I'm good with it. I'll second. Did you come up with it, or?
Yeah, I'd like to motion that we take the nominees and do a raffle, a random selection process throughout the nominees, and then pick 4, and those will be the additional 4 spots for the business of the month. So 8 spots will be covered by the winners, and the additional 4 will be a random selection from the nominees, and that'll be our 12 months of businesses of business of the month.
Okay, I'll second that. Any all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Any comments regarding that? Okay, so that passes. Thank you. The next item we have is the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce membership. Last week, I presented that to our town council and mayor, and there was discussion regarding that, and I want to thank Neil for being here and supporting that proposal or that request. At the end of the day, we went in for the $5,000 platinum one. The town really didn't have money allocated for that, but they were able, very graciously, they were able to take money from one item and allow us to join at the $2,000 non-profit trustee level. So we'll be able to join the Greater Miami Chamber at that level, which has somewhat similar benefits to the next level, but at least we'll be able to get started. The one thing they came up is they wanted us for next year for us to fund that, and that's going to be, we have a budget discussion as far as new business, but that was the request from them to for us to find the money in the next fiscal budget to try to fund it. So the good news is we're in right now as far as that membership, and we've discussed the benefits in the past, so I'm not gonna get into it. But you know, we have to address it for the next fiscal year, or request that the town, you know, fund it again, along with our Miami Lakes Chamber. So that's kind of the update on that. We'd have to, you know, the town's gonna have to work with the different members that'll have access to the different parts. But beyond that, I think, you know, that was successful. Willie, you want to add anything to that I might have missed, or?
Chairman, we're very fortunate that we got that approved, and yes, that's an item that needs to be discussed for the budget year 22, 21, 22 fiscal year. And I know it's on there today to discuss, and I'm sure the other committee members will chime in as far as what direction.
Okay.
That would require increase of our budget, recommendation by the committee.
All right. Anybody want to add anything to that, or we'll just obviously we'll take it up at the budget discussion, but. All right. Having heard no comments, that last item 6G is the FPL Main Street. I know there was some communication regarding that. You want to give us an update, please?
Yes, sir. Chairman, we've had email exchange with FPL, and we're waiting for a virtual meeting to discuss logistics. But it seems like they are interested in doing the webinar, and we're also pending a meeting with the Miami Lakes Bar Association to do a webinar as well. Waiting for those details to share with the committee. But FPL, my conversation with them, they're on board. We're just waiting to review the format and what will be discussed, what we can share with the committee, and pick the date.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to new business. The first item A is a budget update and the 2021-22 budget discussion. We've been asked to start discussing that and to see how we're gonna allocate. I think we currently have $17,000 in this year's budget, and you know, we need to start having a discussion as to how that's going to be spent next year. To date, we've spent like $11,000.
Approximately 10,000 went to local intel, which is already deducted from our budget. We had 7,000. We spent money on the new logo and on the video campaign. So roughly less than 1,000, I believe.
Okay.
And we also have for consideration today for the committee to consider the welcome package for the business, which we'll delve into it. But the committee needs to start thinking of what the budget request is for next year. And if we are going to include the chamber, the Miami Lakes Chamber, and also the Gray Area Chamber of Miami. So those are discussions that please chime in at any committee member who would like to speak on in that aspect.
I was looking for the budget that we passed last year and kind of seeing how we planned on spending it versus how we actually spent it. Do we have that handy? Is that it? Can't find it.
Let me I'll forward it to everyone now.
Is there any plans, Magali, do you know of any plans for the expo this year? Do you know if the chamber is doing expo this year? Is there any talk about it?
Well, I'd rather you ask the president,
Okay.
which is Sandra.
Who is it now?
No, pardon?
Who is it?
Fred Sandra.
Fred Sendra. Okay.
Okay. We'll reach out to the president.
Mr. Chair, I think that'd be a great thing if you could reach out to Mr. Sendra and see about that. That'd be great.
We last year we were planning to do a smaller version, but everybody seems to be, having a different opinion about people don't want to be inside, people don't want to do this, that, and so I'd rather, you discuss it with the president.
I'll set up a meeting with the chamber president and see what the plans are and what's going on between now and the end of the year, and to see how we can participate and how they could, maybe reach out to our businesses.
That'll be awesome.
Perfect, George. Thank you.
So, this year we had, as Willie mentioned earlier, we had the 10,000 that went out to local intel, and then we spent the logo and the video, and then there's another item that we have here, the welcome packet, which is 7D, and there should be an estimate in the package there, which we'll discuss in a minute. So that that's kind of starts making up the getting us to the 17. We also had monies out there to run several possible webinars like we did last year, but we haven't been able to identify any as of right now. You have a comment?
I just forwarded the whole committee the proposed budget that was given to us last year from the committee. Eddie, let me know if you received it. 10,000 were allocated to local intel, and the other 10,000 were allocated for committee void to use these funds to promote businesses in the town. They created a subcommittee to develop ideas how to best use the funds and provide those recommendations to town and elected officials. Obviously, COVID hit. The subcommittee never got off the ground.
Right.
But we were allocated 17,000 because they withdrew 3,000 for the chamber, which was put back into the general fund to pay the chamber, the Miami Lakes Chamber. So we end up with a $17,000 budget for this year, this fiscal year. Did you get it, Eddie? You have it there in front of you?
Yes, I have it. Thank you.
So,
You're welcome, sir.
So the 7 was pretty much a blanket to do the stuff that we had in mind to do.
And we may need, from the 7,000 that we have available now, which is less, we may need to allocate money for the translation service for the webinars, which is approximately $200 per webinar, Chairman. That'll be once we meet next month and we decide on the dates and the webinar topics. We will have to vote on it to pay for the translation.
I was trying to read it here, but
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir. Go ahead. You have the
I wonder if it would be appropriate for us to allocate some money for marketing for our various events. It's usually about, Willie, correctly, is it usually about $200 that we usually allocate for marketing?
Yes, it depends. And Neil, thank you for mentioning that. It depends the reach that that the committee wants to reach. For example, this weekend, the farmers market, there was a very aggressive campaign put out by the vendor, and we had an organic campaign going on as well. So it depends the reach we want to give. But yeah, a $200 budget, it could go from 200 to 400, 500, depending how much the reach the committee would like to see.
Well, at a minimum, I think we should be able to at least establish that we'd recommend about $200 per marketing event. And if we need to get additional dollars because we want a wider reach, at least we are on target for, having a marketing budget for each of these events, because it's so important that people recognize what's going on and the role that we are playing as the Economic Development Committee to really foster good business practices and exposing all our businesses to a wider community. And so that's what the that's what the money would do for that and the marketing piece. So I would just recommend, if I can get, I'd like to make a motion then that out of our budget for the coming year or whatever we have left now, at least $200 is set aside for marketing, so that we don't have to, so that we really will get a lot of return of individuals participating and coming to the various events. Do you get that, John?
I got it. That's a motion
Yeah.
to
I'll make a
set
motion.
aside $200 per marketing event for our committee to consider.
For point of clarification, so that's a 200? I know there's a motion on
No,
the
for-
floor,
for-
but it's per event.
for
but
each-
should we
per
at least make-
event.
should we
It's
at least-
200 per event, right?
Yeah.
But to add it
Right.
to the budget, we probably need to put 10 events, 12 events, 8 events. I think we can't leave it open-ended.
Well, it's really what are we talking about for the unspent dollars? Because our fiscal year is concludes on September 31st, isn't it? So whatever we have left now, whatever events that we are planning between now and then, I would recommend that we, at least do $200 for marketing for each of those events. So if we've got 4 events that we anticipate that we're going to do between now and the end of September, that's simply $800, isn't it?
Yep.
If we're doing 4 events.
Yeah, and Neil's he's referring to the webinars, which is a good point, to market them,
Yep.
so we have attraction to
Yeah.
those webinars. So great point, Neil. And it's up to the committee. You want to allocate 4 events, 200 per committee, per event, for marketing efforts, especially for the webinars. The webinars are very important to get the information out, not just for our local business here, but to get it out throughout the town and beyond.
All right, so Neil's got a motion on the floor, $200 per marketing event.
Yes, with a total of 800 for this fiscal year.
I'll second.
So we've got a second.
Who's second on that? Pardon me.
Mark?
Mark? Okay, Mark second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any comments? Okay, so we have motion is made and passed, Neil and Mark. Thank you, Neil. It's a great idea.
800. And Chairman, to note, Mr. Steve Bremo has joined the meeting. Thank you, Steve. I love that background, sir.
My apologies for being late, gentlemen. Sorry about that. And lady.
Steve, welcome. Good to see you. All right, we're discussing item 7A regarding our current budget and trying to establish our budget for next year.
Mr. Chair, may I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
Based on what I heard from Willie a few minutes ago, that means that Economic Development Committee would have approximately, what it, 1,200, not 1,200, but if we've already spent $1,200 and we have about 500. No, wait a minute now. What was the total amount we have left, Willie, based on you said $10,000 has already been allocated and spent.
Yeah, approximately $5,000, Neil.
5,000. Okay. So we subtract the $800 from the 5,000, which leaves us what, $4,200? Am my math right?
That's correct.
Okay. So now we have $4,200 that we can decide on what else we've got to do between now and the end of the fiscal year. And then I would suggest you consider, Mr. Chair, that we have another meeting that will deal with the upcoming fiscal year starting October 1, 2021 to September 30th of 2022. Because we have during the summer, don't we, Willie, to get our budget ready for next year?
Yeah, we still have the summer. I mean, I was asked to put it on the agenda to start that discussion. I'm not sure.
Okay.
We need to have our recommendations for our new budget in the May meeting.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
so in the main meeting, the committee needs to decide the funds being requested and the recommendations to use the funds, which brings up
For our fiscal year?
Yes,
For
sir.
the fiscal year starting, what, October, right?
yeah, October 1st. It has to go first reading, and the finance has to go through it. So
Well, then in that case, I'd like to add that we should consider if we're gonna be, by next, I imagine we need to budget some money for, some type of networking event. I mean, I presume that at some point in 2022, we'll be able to do an in-person, type of event, I hope.
Yeah, we should be able to resume those, yeah.
So Eddie, your recommendations to have something via Zoom, a virtual networking event
No,
No, no, no.
for
in
this
person.
year?
no, look, I'm not this year, 2021, but we're talking about the 2022 budget essentially,
Okay.
right? So in 2022, I imagine that we're gonna be doing some in-person, event. Um, I'm hoping that, we can do it in person by then. Yeah. So I'd like to budget for that. What kind of spending do we do on one of those events, Willie? It's like $500 or so.
Yeah, roughly. The first year that we started doing them again, there was no budget, and we asked for in-kind support from the restaurants, which went well. But we need some funds behind these events, especially now that the economy is still rebounding, and to put that pressure on the vendor or on the site is very difficult.
And for promotion of the event as well.
And promotion too, just like the chairman just mentioned, and Neil, we need to put promotional dollars behind these events to maximize the attendance.
So I propose that we do plan on having two mixers, two type of networking events at $500 a piece, which which doesn't include the $200 that we do in the promotion of those events. So $500 each, so that'd be $1,000. That's my motion.
I'd like to second that. I think it's a good idea.
This is for the 2021-22 budget. So we got a first
Yeah.
and a second. All in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any comments? All right, so
Hey guys, this is Romy. I'm sorry that I joined in a few minutes late, but I just heard this discussion, so I'm in favor.
Thank you for joining. So the motion passes. Thank you.
My comment is that people don't want to get together in close quarters. They want to be out.
Yeah, but I think if I may, that's gonna change. We're talking about next year, correct? And I think that's gonna change as we get more vaccinations, people feel more confident, businesses are opening, restaurants are going back to normal. I agree with Eddie. I think we should have it built into the budget. So when the times comes, we can just pull the trigger and not have to scramble for the money, My own feedback on that.
And yeah, and that we can do it out I agree on both. We can do it in person, but we could also do it outdoors. There's not, like we did that one at Gauchos. It was, they had an outdoor, mostly good weather, and it had a really good turnout. So we can consider that as well.
There's a few outdoor ones, and I was thinking of that one. That was a great event, so that should work. And again, we need to be back to close to normal in at least in 6, 7, 8 months, so if not sooner. All right, that was
Listen, George, I did speak to Eddie recently and at Gauchos, and he's ready to do something in the near future. He also thought it was very successful. So if we have another one at Gauchos, or we can use that place for some other reason, he's acceptable to at least talking to us and maybe getting something started. So again, it's in the future, but he's open to that. So, just so we know.
Thank you, John. All right. As we had discussed, at least I've been wanting to kind of reach out to businesses outside of South Florida for relocation purposes. I'm just trying to see how we could reach that, and I know we've talked about the cost that it gets rather high if you want to reach out, nationally or even regionally, especially with some of the outlets the business outlets that are out there. Um, I think we need to give that some consideration and see how if that were to fit in the budget. Again, I hate to put a lot of money into one item, nor I'm recommending that. I just to see if we could do some of that. Even with the videos that were mentioned earlier, we could target that through some marketing. Um, some money to try to get through, even virtually through publications. I know we had talked about the Business Journal in the past.
Yeah, we had a meeting with the Business Journal, and I know Andrea also spoke with them independently. The price tag to hit 5 different cities throughout the country, up to 5 markets, was $12,000 for 6 months. Just to give you an idea where we're at. They have 44 markets throughout the country. We'll be eligible for 5 markets, but the price tag is $12,000. There's a lot of value in those $12,000, but the issue is coming up with the $12,000 too, and then unleash our efforts from that through these 5 cities that we could potentially pick to advertise the town in. Which I believe we discussed New York and California and San Francisco, some of those places that are seeing the exits going out. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Is there a possibility or a thought about maybe having the town maybe allocate some extra funds besides our budget to kind of help us with that situation? I would think, I mean, I think $12,000 just for the committee. From what I'm seeing, if I'm reading it right, a $20,000 budget is a significant amount of money. You think there's a possibility of trying to get some additional extra funds on the side to try and help us with this, or that's not realistic?
Steve, the committee has the right to change the budget request to the town. For example, the chambers, we need to add that budget request on our ledger here for next year. So yeah, if the committee wants to add another item in there for consideration, now's the time to do it. There's no guarantee that we'll get it, but we can ask. So if you want to motion that, Steve, and add some funding for that, that's your right to do so.
No, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. It just seems like a big number,
Yeah, I agree. I think, what's the cost versus reward on there? Yeah, we're going to reach out a lot of companies, but it seems, we could maybe able to do a lot more with $12,000 based on our limited budget. And I don't think the town's going to have that many extra funds.
No.
Last year, we got cut from, we'll call it 20 because they're funding the Miami Lake Chamber, but I don't know if it'll be any higher than that. And we have to possibly incorporate the Greater Miami Chamber within our 17.
Mr. Chair, may I add that the fact of the matter that we are now going to become members of the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce, whose goal is also to reach out and to bring businesses, as well as the Beacon Council. We have a relationship with them. I would rather see that we have a realistic budget. $12,000 just for one big event is we're not going to get more than $21,000, $25,000 allocated to economic development based on the fiscal constraint that the town has at this point. And so I would just rather see us try to leverage the relationship that we have with the Greater Miami Chamber, since now we are members. We have to also include either $2,000 or $5,000 for next year, which will be 2021, and 22 in our budget to maintain the membership with the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce. So when you start adding up the numbers and recognizing what we received this year from the town council, I just don't see that we're going to be bumped up to $5,000 more, $10,000 more than what we got last year. and that's just being pragmatic about it. And you know, that's kind of the way I am kind of forecasting what we can expect from the town this coming fiscal year.
I agree with you, Neil. That's my feeling, and that's the way I see it as well.
And I support what Steve was saying as well. That just makes sense. That $12,000 is a lot of money to try to put out there for one a big event. Let me ask you something. Last question I want to ask. I know I'm talking a lot today, but it's something that's coming to me. The $10,000 that we've allocated this year. Do we have to do that again next year for the same item?
We have one more year in our contract, Neil, for local intel.
Okay.
Yes, 3-year partnership.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that $10,000 is something we have to do again next year.
Correct.
We should.
Yep.
Okay.
So the last year would be.
So that helps us focus on the numbers, you know, at this point.
You know, to Neil's, if I may, to Neil's point on the Greater Miami Chamber, I think I was on a vacation when I think the motion was passed to move on with that membership. But to Neil's point, I really think that if we look at our involvement with the Greater Miami Chamber very methodically, this could be an opportunity to really get the town of Miami Lakes, what we try to do, fully ingrained at a certain level. If we all, as members of this committee, commit to do a rotational meeting, to the general meetings, to the special committee meetings, to basically not just put lip service to it, but to actually get out there and represent what we're trying to do. We have enough people on this committee right here that we all can basically share in making sure that we go out to these meetings. I think you're only going to get what you put into it. Without making this too long, from my own experience with Bank United, we were fully involved with the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce. Everybody, none of us were on different committees. If you can write a check, we can show our face with a banner, but unless we actually work it, either through their Zoom, virtual, or meetings or whatever, we need to actually, I guess what I'm getting at, we need to make a commitment as a group in this committee to actually get involved with that chamber. That's the only way we're going to get a good return on investment on this. That's my own 2 cents in this.
Steve, I agree 100%. If you don't work it, you're not gonna get the exposure, and I think we should leverage that new partnership. I know that on the export side, for any businesses who do export, they do have some services there with documentation, which is one of the attractive things as far as certificate of origins and things like that that came up with one or two of the companies.
Yeah.
So.
And Mr. Chair, if go ahead, I'm sorry. I just want to make one other point.
No, go ahead. Make your.
Okay, so there is a committee. There's a committee with the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce called the Good to Great Committee. So that was a group of individuals who were part of that committee that every year actually went out in a very methodical, objective process and reached out to companies in different volume in sales categories and number of employees categories to make them as candidates for the Good to Great award. And that award was really done at the very end of the goals conference for the Greater Miami Chamber of Commerce. And I remember working with a company in Miami Lakes that I forget the name, that does actual screens or like shower curtains for hospital beds. Started a lady with her mom started it. She was a finalist. So I guess what I'm getting at is if we can really get into that chamber, there are some good businesses in Miami Lakes that we can promote, or we can get more interest or create more of a buzz in the Miami Lakes business community through that channel.
Yeah, that's a good point. As far as, we wanted to reach out to companies in Miami Lakes. We're kind of waiting on the town establishing the database so we can target the right companies, the ones that have been here more time, the newer ones, how we can help them, and then reach out to them with all the services and all the promotional opportunities that we could try to offer for them, and just keep a good dialogue and relationship with those companies. So I believe all this will start coming together once we start getting that database together, and availability, to be able to get out and meet some of the companies. I think we may have a little bit of a time constraint, because I know there's another committee meeting after us.
Chairman, we need to,
I'd like to move
we,
on
we have
to
another
item.
approximately 15 minutes we give you.
Okay, so I want to, since we're on a budget item, right now I've been taking notes while we're talking here. We've got the 10,000 for the 21, 22. I've got the 10,000 for the local until third year of our commitment with them. I added the 1,000 for networking, kind of based on a previous motion. I put 1,000 for marketing, just seeing if we had a full year. Maybe that's not enough. And then we have I took the minimum for the Greater Miami Chamber of 2,000, and the town is funding the balance for the Miami Lakes Chamber, which would have taken us to 20. So that leaves us, that's a $14,000 projected expense. Out of 17, we have 3,000 to go. There is one item, new business, which is 7D. If I may, I'd like to kind of mesh this one with the budget. And that item is to create a welcome packet for new businesses. In the exhibits, or there's I guess AC Graphics has a proposal for has a design in 3 different quantities. If we feel that this is something that we want to move forward with, then we should probably add it to the budget, since we're talking about that, which is why I wanted to kind of mesh those 2 items. Willie, you want to go ahead and mention real quickly what this is about?
Yeah, committee, thank you, Chair and committee members. This is a package that an idea we've been kicking around here, and we'll have something to share with you soon. But this is when a business comes in and opens up here in Miami Lakes, we'll be able to give them a package that has just about every information piece that they will need in a nice binded folder with a branded label on top, built into the folder. So this will be a handshake. As soon as they come in and pull their permits here in town, we'll have them this packet. We'll get it to them, and they can start reviewing everything that we have to offer as a committee, as a town, including those videos that we do, the ribbon cuttings, and so forth. But just an all-in-one package with a handshake. And here you go. Here's everything we do. Here are the committee members, and it's a very elegant, very professional package. And I'll have Elizabeth, once we have all the items together, share with the committee so you guys can see how we would look. But this will be a $1,500 investment that we can do now if the committee votes on this. And we'll have these packages ready to go once the artwork and what's going to be inside the package is approved.
So I've got one.
How much?
1,514.
Oh, I thought you said 15,000.
No.
Yeah, that's why I asked too.
I have one comment. So it's and actually, if I read this correctly, it would be 1,714 for the highest quantity, which is 2,500 units, because I guess we have to add the $200 design fee to it. Approximately how many businesses a year do we have that are new?
We average, I'll give that,
I mean, just a ballpark is fine. I don't.
to be safe, maybe 20 to 60 a year. But this also could be used retroactively for the business that we have in state already here as well. Give them all the contact, give them the information. Some businesses don't know we do ribbon cutting, and they've been here in town for a while.
So when we go visit a business, we can bring the packet and just give them an update on the
Correct.
latest and greatest information
Yeah.
that we have. Yeah, I'm seeing because at the largest quantity, or about $1,714
Yeah.
plus tax. I'm assuming. So
No tax though.
no okay.
No tax.
That's right, because it's and that's about 61 cents per packet versus 85, which would be the thousand unit one. How quickly do you think this will become outdated? 2 years?
There's some elements inside the package that won't be outdated, that won't change, but there's elements that we'll do in-house that we can change as we go. This is the branded folders, the business directory that we have that's been updated. It looks beautiful.
So this is only for the packet, but as far as the material that goes inside, that'll be provided by town resources, or
like the business directory, you'll be in there. That's gonna be a binded package booklet, professionally binded. We have one, and we currently have one, but it's outdated. So that'll be updated. It'll be
So I guess where I'm going, is there additional cost? Other
From-
than the 15 or the 6?
no outside of this. There won't be any additional costs.
So
No,
we'll be able to produce a full
No.
packet for these dollars.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And whatever the other materials will go in there. Some can be made in house, but the actual booklets and the folders and the other items we're going to throw in there, it's not. It needs to be at a professional level.
Okay. Mark, go ahead. You had a question.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just a quick question for you. I think that going off of the chair's point, those additional resources that we would have to print, like let's say next year or whatever, whenever there might be a change, one of the documents inside has to become outdated, and we would have to change that. Would that be an additional cost that we would have to, I guess, look into for that fiscal budget, for that fiscal year budget, or if we can print it in house here at the town, who covers that additional, I guess, source of income? Or
It's my understanding that the items that are going to be potentially outdated will be printed in house, which we can. There's no charge to the committee. It's part of our resources here. These are the hard cost items, the folders that won't change. You know, that's not in the booklets, the business booklets directory, which is it's a nice pamphlet, and I believe it's almost ready. I can share that with the committee. We don't have to make a decision on this today, but I'll send you the booklet so you'll see how beautiful it came out, what's inside that booklet, and we can itemize all the items that will be in there as well. I can provide that to the committee. And which ones could be printed in-house as well.
Sorry, from a budget standpoint, we have like $3,000 net of what I just mentioned earlier. And I prefer to leave some open money for other networking events or other, maybe a webinar or something. So I wanted to see how quickly we would burn through 1,000 or 2,500. I like the idea of going to businesses with something to hand them.
Correct.
And that they could stay with and be able to, out of sight, out of mind. If they have it, they'll be able to use it.
I'll have a contact list of all the services in the town, who the directors are, who they have to reach out to.
But I like to get the committee's at least initial feedback as to the quantity, because that'll either be half the remaining budget or 3/4 of it. So, or I'm sorry, 2/3 of
We
it.
can take care of that. That's not a problem.
Any comments from members of the committee, please?
I can't wait to see a final draft of it. I think it's a great idea. It's long overdue.
Yeah, my concern is just quantity right now, and since we have a month to figure this out, that's why I was asking these questions. So,
George, pardon me, do we need a motion to
Yeah.
approve somewhere between $1.5 and $1.7 thousand dollars for these items?
Chairman, what
Yeah.
we're deciding next month is for the fiscal year 21-22.
okay, so this would
What
be
we have currently available is approximately 6,000 or 5,000 and some change. So that money's available to the committee now, this fiscal year.
okay.
So, our
then-
budget request is for 21-22, and that's what the committee. By next meeting, we have to decide what we're requesting, where the money's going to be allocated to, which we know 10,000 is for local intel. So the other 7,000 is what's in play.
So the 1,714 we could spend in this fiscal year, and that'll carry us through
Correct.
the end of this year and beginning and probably most of next year. if not
Yes,
all.
sir. We won't have. This is a one-time charge for.
All right, I'll make a motion then to go ahead and go in. I'm not sure if we need to see proofs before, but to go in at the 2,500 quantity level, my approximate cost based on my math here is 1,714. And to go ahead and put the order as soon as it's approved by the town, and if we get to look at it, it would be great. But so that's
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Neil. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or any
Aye.
discussion?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. We should have discussion before we vote. Just so it doesn't become an issue down the road at any point.
Discussion.
So just Robert's rules of order are like first, second, then discussion, then vote.
All right, point taken. So any discussion before?
Call the question since there's no discussion.
Okay, all in favor of this?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, having none, this passes. Thank you. All right. So as far as the 2021-22 budget, we'll bring this back up in the next meeting, and we'll wrap it up at that point. And we'll work with Woody to see what else we have out there, so we can go ahead and
we'll send the budget update, the current budget update, to all the committee members sometime this week, so you guys can review that. And then yes, and then the next meeting, Chair, we can allocate those funds where you want them to go, and we'll send them to finance.
All right, thank you. All right, next item that we have on here was how to reach out to companies that are relocating to Florida. We'll just unless anybody has any discussions, I think we've discussed that already, and I just wanted to see if new ideas come up.
Chairman George, excuse me. I think we have to go to B, right? Mission statement.
Yeah, I just skipped B. Sorry about that. So, mission statement. We're asked to look at the mission statement, which was sent out along with the resolutions that have gone along with that. I'm not sure if everybody had a chance to look at the resolutions, but they pretty much want our thoughts, suggestions, or any recommendations, as that may change from time to time. If we have any changes or recommendations, we can make that to the town council.
Mr. Chairman, since I've been around for so long, I know with Mike and with Eddie, I always brought this up a little bit. Maybe it's worth 6 minutes to talk about it. The mission statement says basically that we're basically in business to increase the tax base here in town. Does that sound right to you folks? I mean, can't we have something better than that? Like to increase the financial stability of our town, or something? I mean, to increase the tax base sounds. When you mention tax base and tax increases, it sort of turns people off. I've been talking to Mike about this before, and Eddie. Does anybody else have any comment on that? If we could just sort of change that phrase.
To John's point, I remember the same thing being brought up last year at a committee meeting, and I thought that we had reworded it. Maybe I'm mistaken. So that's what I thought. I thought we passed a motion and we reworded it.
The way I recall, I agree. I agree with John, and what I recall was that the mission statement was changed, and then the question was, when was it? It was changed before. I think Andrea had brought that up, that they had changed the mission statement, and then, but nothing has reflected those changes. That's the way I understand it. Like, so we don't see the change. So we were wondering, okay, if it was changed already, then what was it changed to, and who has the record of that, and can we just use that? And that's where it got stuck.
Okay. So I think it's still something that we can talk about and maybe approve some other wording.
Agreed.
Buddy, agree. I think Eddie's with me, and I think Neil will go along with it. I don't know. I just think to increase the tax base has always been rather aggressive, I think.
I agree. I don't think that should be in our mission statement, and I also, I think that's more of a voter privilege than a committee privilege. So I think it definitely needs to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that discussion. Willie, can you go back and check to see when that was made? Because I do remember that discussion with the mission statement being changed or recommendations to change it, and it still appears like that on our website.
Yeah, just
Uh,
open the website and it states. Let me read what's on
Yeah,
here.
it's just kind of a similar version to what John just read.
Yeah, and now's the time for us to make those suggestions. Right now, we have the Economic Development Committee assist in the development of well-rounded business climate to help build the town's commercial tax base through the aggressive recruitment of new businesses. So, John, you're on point on that.
Yeah, I think something like we can improve the always to improve the financial stability of the town, for instance. That might be one phrase you might want to stick in there. I hope some other people will have some other ideas, but certainly that I think to increase the tax base is sort of hits most people hard. I always thought that. Romy, maybe you can put some other financial things in there, but definitely we're here to increase always the financial stability of the town.
Yeah, I think stability. I think we can also say financial prosperity of the town.
Very good.
I'm happy to work on it. I like wordsmithing, so if you guys want, I can work on it. But I thought I didn't come with anything to the table because I really thought we had figured this out already. I guess we're back
I thought
to.
so too.
No.
I was like, this sounds really familiar, but yeah, I'm happy to wordsmith it over this week and send something to Willie for approval.
Thank you, Rami, and I will forward it down. And anybody else wants to add something to the mission statement, please send it, and then we can share. We just recently did this up in similar to this with the Veterans Committee, so send it to me, and then we'll make sure everybody sees it and chimes in.
Can I make Rami, I really appreciate you offering to do that. Can I make a request? Can
Sure.
you do maybe a couple of different options so that
Yeah,
you know,
that's
we don't
what I was. Yeah,
be
no,
awesome.
no. I think I'm gonna do a couple of drafts so that we have some options to pick.
That's great.
Is there? I mean, obviously, I know it needs to be brief, but is there like a particular limit, or is there any guidelines that we need to stick to, Willie, when putting something together?
Yeah. Willie stepped out for a second.
Oh,
I think there's
sorry.
someone at the door. I don't know of any, but again, I like to look at last year's because I believe like you said, we discussed this in the past, and we might have come up with something already.
Yeah, and
But which we can try to tweak. And thank you for volunteering.
I'll look at some of the other committees on the town website. I'll kind of take guidance from theirs. Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just a real quick question, and I think it's to Eddie's point. I think that's a great idea. It's similar to what we did with the logo, that we have a few different mission statements to vote for the next meeting. So I guess Romy has a nice task for the next meeting. Thanks, Romy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll take it up at the next
No
meeting
problem.
again.
And if anybody has, please, if anybody wants to work on it either with me or send some other options to Willie, feel free.
All right, so I think
Okay, gang. Thanks, Eddie and Rami.
Good job, John. Thanks, John.
we got to get it done one way or the other.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure it has to get done. That's not,
All right.
not an acceptable mission statement.
All right, we got to check what was
Right.
done in the past. Too, so,
I
okay,
think
thanks.
we're almost out of time, so I guess 7E was to work with local organizations. In the beginning of our meeting, Willie mentioned that FPL there was some communication with them, and Miami Lakes Bar as well. So we'll try to reach out to some others. I know Miami-Dade College was one that I was trying to reach out to try to get some feedback from their business school for our businesses. So if anyone has any connections or anyone that they want to reach out to, send the information to Willie, and we'll try to set something up with him. And then the last item that I put on here, the development committee virtual background. Steve, it looks really good up there. So it's out there, and thank you, Elizabeth, and everybody that was involved with that. So I look forward to seeing it on the screens. That's all that we have on the agenda. If anybody has any additional comments before we adjourn. I think we're a little bit over our time.
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, good afternoon, William. I was looking for the minutes, and I see some minutes from 2008 that were attached to the agenda. Did we get any minutes for this from
No.
our last meeting?
We did not get the minutes. Chairman, we're going to defer for next meeting.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
And thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Borman.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
And so with COVID, had you, assumedly you did not get the vaccine?
I did not. No, me and my whole family, you know, we're Cuban, so we don't trust, personally, we don't trust the vaccine. That's,
And did it,
we're not getting it.
Did it put you down or not too bad?
It was, I mean, I would say it was worse than the flu that I've had in the past. But it wasn't anything like hospitalization. It knocked me out, you know, for a few days. It was, you know, I had to stay home and wasn't feeling that well.
And how about the rest of the family?
Yeah, I mean, I live in a household with 5 people, and it transmitted to everybody fairly quickly within like the same day. Everybody had it.
Oh.
Yeah, so we were all, you know, out for the count, and it wasn't a fun week, but luckily we're all, you know, getting through it, and we're all good now.
Oh, good, yeah. Amen.
Yeah, exactly.
Did anybody not get it too badly, or did everybody?
Well, the only person out of my whole family was my mom that didn't get it. So she's the only female in the house, so she's taking care of like the 4 men in the house. So you know, she's a nurse, so she has the experience with that already. But you know, she wasn't. She loves taking care of people.
I always hear that whenever the fellas get sick, I always hear the ladies tell us that we're the biggest babies.
I'm hungry. I don't feel good. You have to run and get us medicine and get us, you know, supplies, and oh man, she's an angel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good evening, Gary.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
Good, thank
and
you.
everyone else, even Larry.
Yeah.
How are you, Mr. Cardenas?
That is like wild.
Hey, come on now.
Hey, did you get the?
Are you up at Cape Canaveral?
No. I like to be. I changed the background today. I figured fly me to the moon.
Yeah. We have 11 committee members. Danielle hasn't been sworn in yet, so he doesn't count towards our quorum numbers. So Pedro's sitting in the council chamber, so we're just waiting for one more person to join us.
Larry, were you able to make the connection?
The weirdest thing, Gary, when we hung up, he had called me that moment. So anyway, he didn't have good news for me, but we spoke, and I understand. You know, everything's going to be okay. The big rock that was going to go as the memorial.
Right.
I want to get the lawn stone.
Chairman, I'm pleased to announce we have quorum. So if you want to start.
Oh, well, wonderful. Hey, good evening, Ed.
We have Pedro here, so you have 7 members.
Well, we actually have 6. Danielle has not been sworn in.
Yeah, one is not.
William?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Yep. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, did you hear that?
I got it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. No, thank you. All right. Well, very good then. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I have 7:06 p.m. And we'll start with the roll call. Michael Coote, present. Mr. Larry Borman.
Present.
Mr. Edward Pies.
Here.
Mr. Gary Cardenas.
Here.
Mr. Mario Chavez. Mr. Pedro Fiallo.
Here.
Ms. Jimenez Garcia. Danielle Lazala. Ricardo Odorino. Leonardo Rodriguez. And Mr. Alejandro Sanchez.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could have you please stand. And Mr. Gary Cardenas, as the commander of Post 144, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I do. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
If you would take a seat.
Michael, do we have quorum?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
6 out of 11.
Okay, so I'm missing one person.
Mr. Pedro Fiallo is in the.
Got it.
I'm in town.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Sorry about that.
Nope. And then we'll go ahead and take a short 15, 20-second moment of silence. Obviously, very tumultuous times in our country. So whoever it is that you pray to or think about, if you would just take a moment of silence, and we'll use this time for a moment of reflection before we get started with our meeting. Very good. Amen. All right. Do we have, or start with item number 4 on the agenda, which would be public comments? Do we have any?
Chairman, at this time, we have no public comments at this time.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. We'll move on to number 5, order of business. Do we have any deferrals, additions, and or deletions?
Yeah, the minutes, I haven't sent Willie the minutes. Willie, I'm sorry, dude. I completely spaced on it. I have them done. I'll forward them to you, okay?
Thank you, sir. We can defer them to the next meeting, Ed.
Make a motion, we defer.
Well, wait a minute. If we could, we'll address the adaptation of the minutes. But I think Mr. Borman had an addition prior to that. Mr. Borman?
Yeah, with regard to new business?
Yes,
and the
sir.
Veterans Park?
As an addition?
Actually, Gary, I can thank for writing this. It's very, very good. Let me read it to you briefly. He's brought some points up.
Excuse me, Mr. Borman, we can include it in item number 9 if you'd like.
That's fine.
Yeah. And what is it specifically?
These are some points with regard to the Veterans Park.
Oh, okay. And well, rather than new business, would it not be better to include that on the agenda with be item 8E, the Veterans Park proposal?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do that, and we'll put that as item number subparagraph 5, Roman numeral 5.
Okay.
And what would be the title?
Veterans Park, Town of Miami Lakes.
Okay, but specifically, what are you addressing?
Well, there's more than one item. The one item would be some of the keynotes that Gary brought up, the location, photographs, things that we'll need to do in order the committee will need to do in order to get you the information to present to council.
Okay, great, thank you. So then, I'm sorry, Ed, you had said that the minutes would be forthcoming, so we're going to defer the adaptation of the minutes until next meeting then?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to be clear, where are we adding Larry's item?
We're adding it in, it would be paragraph E, old business.
Okay.
Old business number 8, paragraph E, and then subparagraph Roman numeral 5.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is there any other then additions or deferrals? Okay, if not, then we can, we've already addressed item number 6.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes, please.
What is item 9B?
Yeah, sorry.
It looks like a budget.
Yeah, yeah, that should be a review of the budget.
Okay.
It's the accounting line, but it should read, and thank you, good point, Alejandro. Perhaps we can include that as a title for new business, number 9, paragraph B, and it just says Veterans Committee. It should read budget review for Veterans Affairs, or for Veterans Committee.
Which is page 25. By the way.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, very good then. Presentations and or announcements. Well, the one item of note would be that Alejandro's son turned 10 years old, and so that would be an announcement. So congratulations there, Alejandro.
Congrats.
Thank you. We got him this far. Let's keep him going.
All right, then that, without further ado, item number 8, old business, paragraph A would be Arbor Day. You know that if you actually turn over the page, if you printed it out, you'll see that the town has published a nice little flyer that can be linked from the town website that speaks to the Arbor Day ceremony, which will be April 30th at 6 p.m. We're going to be honoring Lance Corporal Ryan Ostrovsky, who was a Marine that died in June of last year in a training accident off the coast of California. And then Mr. George Deming, who is well known in the town, has lived here since 1964, retired at the rank, left the military after serving 12 years in the National Guard, the rank of sergeant. I'm sorry, William, did you have something?
I'm sorry, Chairman. No, we're receiving feedback. Are you guys hearing that feedback?
Yeah, I do. There's somebody speaking in the background in someone's house.
Right. Yeah.
Really? Honey, talk quiet or go outside. You're in the background.
Thank you, Larry.
So again, the bricks have been completed. Willie has indicated that they're ready. We also have the trees. You might remember this is at the Miami Lakes Picnic Park West. It's going to be our committee in its entirety, which will include, if everybody's to show up and wear your Miami Lakes Veterans Committee shirt, please. It's going to be a small event for obvious reasons, thanks to COVID, observing social distancing. But we'll have some town officials, and I don't know exactly, William, who's going to be there. Do we know yet?
I haven't received the list yet, who's be attending. I know Fred from the Auto Mall will be there, the sponsor, and the committee members. And Michael, or I know you met with the families of the honorees. Do we have an update on them?
Yes, sir. Mr. George Deming the service will be attended by his wife, his surviving wife, and his son, Tom Deming, and his wife. And then with regard to the Ostrovskys, Ben and Thelma Ostrovsky have lived in the town for many years. Perhaps some of you might know them. Unfortunately, Thelma is in hospice care, and Ben is getting on in his years. He will make every effort to be there, but at this point, he doesn't know if he's going to be able to make it.
Thank you, Chair. And
we are going. In addition, he reached out to Jack's father, Peter. Peter grew up here in Miami Lakes, and there's some thought that they might attend, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet.
And if I may, through the chair, the flyer that has been made and placed on the agenda, it doesn't state the location of the ceremony. If I could be added
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah, the location can be found in the link. I just included this just because I hadn't seen it prior to going to the website, and I just wanted to highlight for the committee what Brandon and Willie put together. But the website actually does have the address.
Okay, good to know.
William, did you have something?
I was just going to say that even though the ceremony will be small, but we're going to recap it through social media. We're going to capture the installation of the trees and the installation of the bricks, and then obviously, God willing, the ceremony by the committee and elected officials and the families of the attendees. So we'll have something out by Monday.
I never got the shirt. I don't know if there's more left or so I don't have a shirt.
Oh, that's problematic.
Ed,
send
me your size.
For shirts. And I'm sorry, William.
I'm sorry. Send me your size, Ed, and I'll look here what we have, and I'll get it to you.
William, do you know where Ed lives?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I said, do you know where Ed lives?
No, I don't, but I can have it available for him in town hall if you like, Ed. If I have it.
Yeah, that's fine. I can pick it up tomorrow.
Great.
I'll send you an email, Willie.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Fantastic. And so what I had hoped to do for the Arbor Day ceremony, again, it's not a large scale event, just a simple ceremony to honor a couple of people that committed their lives to their community and their country and who are no longer with us. And so through the generosity of the town and Mr. Fred Senra, we're able to plant a couple of trees and provide some bricks at the base of those trees. So what I had wanted to do is just have a simple ceremony, much like we did when we sponsored the flag ceremony, where we have some Pledge of Allegiance, an opening prayer, and then some introductory remarks. Haven't been involved in one of these before, so William, do they actually do a shovel, like you would if you were opening up a building? Or is the tree already planted?
The tree will be planted already, Chairman. We're going to, I believe scheduling is on the 28th is when they're going to go in there. We're going to have someone there to capture the installation, and then the following day, the installation of the bricks. Along with the ceremony, we'll put everything together and share it via social media.
Okay. Last time we did a program, but we never published it, again, because we were trying to keep it, relatively small.
Correct.
Is there a need for a program at this event?
We're looking at less than 20 people. If the committee would like a program, we could put something together. I know Gary shared one. I think we have one on file that we can put together.
Yeah, we should have. If not, I haven't. Sure.
Yeah, we could do that. That's not a problem. We can print that in house. There's no cost to do that, right. Chairman.
Yeah, and I don't know what the committee thinks. I was just thinking that perhaps if we're honoring the lives of a couple of gentlemen, with a tree and a brick, it might be nice to have a little memento for the family to take home in the form of a flyer that just highlights, the fact that the town was grateful for, having had these people in our lives.
We'll take care of that, Mr. Chairman and committee members.
Thank you, William. All right, then, without further ado, did anybody want to? Alejandro, you said that you were familiar with Mr. Deming. I went and spoke with the family, Mrs. Deming, and I spoke with the son just to get a little bit of background information, which I can provide. Unless you had some specific, personal stories that you'd like to add, you're more than welcome, and we can include that in the presentation as well.
Okay.
But just let me know beforehand, and then I can give you the opportunity and turn it over to you to make some remarks.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'd rather leave that slot for his family, for his, for Marie, for his sons. But if I'll speak to Marie, she lives down the street from me, and I'll ask her, if that's something that they would like to do, and if I don't want to take the lead on that. Like I'd rather they get a chance to express themselves as to how they feel about, George, the person that he was, before I step in. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just, if in fact you had a personal connection, I remember you had nominated him, so I didn't know if he had a special place in your heart, or if you recognized him as somebody who was, a long-standing citizen of the town and had done a lot of things. So I just put it out there. If not, you're right. And I spoke with the family as well, and their son might actually say a few words. So
good.
Very good.
I mean, if I could have a minute, I don't want to be overbearing either. So
Yeah, got it. All right, so that's it then. Did anybody else have anything they wanted to add on that particular day for either the Lance Corporal Jack Ryan Ostrovsky or Mr. George Deming? No? Okay. Then that wraps up the Arbor Day, 6 p.m., April 30th. Ed will get a shirt from Willie, and if we can get everybody to attend would be nice, just for the family's sake. Moving on to item B, the recognition awards for sponsors and our outgoing committee members. Thank you, Ed and Larry. You sent in some contributions for the wording, and Willie took the initiative initially to get the thing started, and so with a little tweaking, the wording was set for both the corporate and the individual recognition plaques. Those have been, I think they've gone to final press. They sent out a couple of proofs just to make sure that it was in keeping with what we wanted with text size and text type. But it looks like it's all done, so it'll be ready for, I think, pickup by the end of this week, the beginning of next week. And there is all of the people that we're recognizing. So when we get these things, which will be in a week or so, we had talked about having one ceremony and bringing everybody here, or rather going to their places of business and presenting them with the plaques. And so I would defer to the committee members. You know, I thought if we got, we don't need 10 people, I don't think, but if we had 2 or 3 people, we could go to each place of business and give them their plaque and, to say, hey, thank you so much. Maybe take a photo or 2. Or if somebody else has another idea, we could certainly consider any and all proposals. Anybody? So again, my thought is we'll just, it doesn't have to be the committee in its entirety, but we can pick a day, and we don't have to knock them all out in the same day, I suppose. We could take maybe a couple of days, but I know that, Naib and Angel, developed some personal relationships with members on the committee, and, it might be nice, we give them advance warning and go over to their house and or meet them in a place common to all of us, and just maybe buy them a cup of coffee and just say, listen, fellas, we really appreciate the work you did. But we don't have the plaques in hand, that's coming. But if you would please, just consider how you would like to do it. My suggestion would be, we just pick a day, be in touch with everybody, say, hey, we're going to drive over. We'll get into one car with our box of plaques in the back, and then we'll just go over to each of the businesses and give them out. It's already been, a year plus since they contributed. So I think it would be nice to, knock this out rather than,
Of the 8 businesses in town, that participated, how many are in town? I know Andy's, A&P, Graham, Miami Lakes, Auto Mall.
Mm-hmm. Split timing.
I'd like to add something when you just finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, split timing is not. Specialized investigations consultants, I'm not sure about them. And then everybody else, as you said, are here in town. So,
I'd like to add
yeah, William. Sorry, Larry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think another way to present that, and could be appreciated by some of the small business owners. Example, Fred. I always use Fred because Fred seems to be the major contributor to most of the things that are going on in the town as far as charities. Fred's company has meetings weekly and monthly, whereas most of his employees are there. Mm-hmm. I think it would be spectacular if perhaps yourself or maybe a couple other committee members were to, in advance, make arrangements with him to present the meeting, to present the plaque, the presentation to him in front of his employees at that meeting. That would really be a big boost to that person, I would think. And we could contact the companies to see if that is something they would prefer. I think there's a lot that would.
the other point, that's a great suggestion, which then made me think of, when we look at the Miami Laker, we often see, a number of small businesses and schools and graduates, championship teams that have their photo with a number of our elected officials in a semicircle. Perhaps we could host an event where we bring them in and give it to them, and at least then we can get their photo with our town officials whom we represent. And then they could also get a little shout out in the newspaper with a picture of them receiving their award. But maybe that's another thought. But that comes on the tail of your suggestion with making it a little bit more public rather than a private ceremony. So again, really open. Does anybody else have any thoughts on what they think would be perhaps the best way to present these plaques to our contributors?
I think it should be on a case-by-case basis. So I second what Larry just said about going to the Auto Mall and having a company meeting and presenting it there. I think it has a little bit more of an emotional touch to it. And with regards to Andy's, the Graham companies, I don't know if they are up to coming to town hall during a regular council meeting, or if they can even come into the chambers during a town council meeting. Willie, you would know that better than anybody. If they're doing presentations before town council meetings currently.
I can look into that, Alejandro, to see what's permissible. Coming to town hall, that's a nice formal way to say thank you.
Right.
The Auto Mall, I think the personal touch is better in that perspective. But yeah, we can check both, and I'll let you guys know what direction they give me.
Great, thank you very much. So that closes out item 8B. We'll move on to 8C, which is the military tribute banners. The deadline was April 15th. We did, as you remember, last meeting, to recap, Mr. Fred Senra had graciously volunteered to pay for the members of Post 144 who are veterans, all that, and that post is here in Miami Lakes. Last we heard, I think there was 25 additional banners. We had 64 from last year. And how many more did we have? How many more nominations for this year, William?
We have 30 new nominations, Chairman.
Okay,
30, yes, sir. I spoke to the vendor, Eastern Signs. He did inform us there's some banners that are damaged, and he's working to provide us a list of those damaged banners so we can let the vendor know if we have to reprint those.
And do they, when they police them up at the end of in November, are they the ones responsible for maintaining the storage, or do we keep them here in the town?
No, that vendor, Eastern Signs, kept the banners and the brackets from last year.
Okay.
Yeah, because those brackets belong to the town. I believe we have 62 or 64 brackets. So so now with those 30 additional banners, we're looking at 90 poles approximately. 92, 93. So
we're halfway there.
Yeah, so pretty soon we're going to take over all 154th.
Yeah. Okay, very good then. So we have so that gives us 90 some odd. And Mr. Senra had agreed to pay for the banners, and there was talk about the installation fees for the bracket. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Cardenas, Tim Daubert, who was a previous council member and active member of the American Legion, had volunteered to pay for the installation if that became an issue. William, do we know what the installation would be, adding those additional 30? Can we cover that with our own funds rather than have an individual, give up his money?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe those 30 are all American Legion members.
Okay.
Okay, so probably not even half.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and Fred was, he was paying for the hardware.
Yeah. Oh, he is? He's going to pay for
yes.
the hardware? Oh, great. Okay.
So
And then
we are,
the cost of installation, is that a responsibility of the Veterans Committee?
Chairman,
The town pays for that, yeah.
yeah, we have a budget of 2,500 for installation removal. Since we have so many banners, I'm waiting for the estimate from the company. Fred last year was gracious enough to cover the difference. So I'm waiting for those estimates to come back from the vendor, and we'll address that with the sponsor and with the committee.
Okay, and then just as a point of information for the group, I didn't realize this, but in case it occurred to anybody, I wondered how we did the vetting for the veterans, because they're supposed to, as you know, supply documents known as a DD-214, which highlights their military service, and then it gets vetted. And there's a process for that, which I thought we were responsible for in the committee, but I knew that I had never been involved in it, and so I thought perhaps it was something the town did. But instead, what William told me was that the vendor who produces these military banners is very familiar with the process, and they're the ones that actually receive the DD-214s, the record of service, and they do the vetting themselves. So we're really not, we're not involved in that process at all. We could be, but that's what these guys get paid to do as part of their service in providing the banners. And they're not doing it just here, obviously, in the town of Miami Lakes. Their clients are spread across the country, so they're quite familiar with, how this process goes. But that's just a point of information in case anybody was wondering. So that brings us down to, so that takes care of C3, which was vetting of nominees.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, before we move away, Willie, the high school banners, the flyer still says along Miami Lakes Drive. And that was posted this afternoon by Brian. Brandon.
I'll follow up with that tomorrow, Gary. But we have, the veterans have priority on 154th. So in the event that there's 100 from them, 100 from us, we're going up first. And we have the 154 stretch. But
they're advertising that they will be on Miami Lakes Drive.
I'll follow up this tomorrow. I know there was discussion of having them bleed into the streets if they have to.
Well, if I may, Gary, there's 200 light poles. We have 94 banners.
I know.
So, I mean, I think we'll be okay.
But that was the issue was just in case we ran over.
Yeah.
So we can move on.
Did you have anything, Ed?
No.
No. William, I thought you had said that the veterans would be along 154th and the high school graduates would go along Main Street. Was that not the...
The discussion was if we needed more polls, yes. But Alejandro's right. There's over 200 polls that we have to our disposal on 154th. Remember, it starts from Red Road. I'm sorry. Yeah, Red Road all the way to 87th Avenue.
No. 67th.
We started 67, but 54th runs all the way from Red Road to 87th.
Right.
89th.
Yeah.
To 87th, yeah, all the way down 87th.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So again, we start at the church, and we work our way down.
Right.
Yes, sir. That won't change. The Veterans Committee was first in the game. We can't change that.
If there's 100 polls, if we put all the veterans on one side and we put the high school kids on the other, rather than having a mix of high school and veteran, at some point the two are going to collide, and you're going to be looking at your kids' graduation, and then next thing you'll be looking at old men. Is perhaps a notion of separating them so that one side you're looking at one group and the other you're looking at another group?
Chairman, no, we have from 67th all the way to whatever's needed. If we have to go all the way to the middle, that's only veterans. We don't mix them with
both sides. Both sides. We never mixed.
Yes, sir.
Mix.
And also, Mr. Chair, we're also going to install the American flags again this year. The American flag banners.
In between.
So I have those here already. So I'm trying. I know the next item is installation date. My goal is to hopefully have it done by May 20th. So when the other company with American flags come in, they're ready to go.
Oh, okay. And so when did it, because those things go up pretty quickly and they seem that they were done overnight. What is the date last year? What was the date last year? It was a couple of days before
Memorial Day.
Memorial, yeah, before Memorial.
Yeah, the goal's before Memorial Day, correct.
Okay. And do we need to coordinate? Last year, I know Angel coordinated to help with the installation. The year before, there was no coordination. There was some confusion, and they ended up putting them in a few different spots. So is that something that we need to address, or?
Yeah, well, we're going to give the direction to Eastern Signs regarding that.
Okay. All right. And if need be, we can go out there at the start just to make sure that, they know what the instructions are.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
once the installation is confirmed, guys, we'll send the EVI out to the committee and to the police department so they're aware of the installation happening. And you guys are welcome to come out there.
No, perfect. Thank you. All right, that takes care of 8C. On to 8D, the Veterans Office. Although we addressed this somewhat last go around, we reached out to Mr. Peters. He said, and the information that's provided there is his contact information, which Alejandro pulled from the website, is actually correct. He said that because he's doing most of his work out of out of home or his office, he's not doing in-person consultations. He asked that we send any correspondence to him via email versus trying to call him. He said he'd be hard pressed to get back to all the people that call, but if you email him, he promises to get back within 24 hours. So that was just a little follow-up to our old business from last month.
William, correct me if I'm wrong, that address for Hialeah, that office was closed a long time ago, right?
I believe so, Gary, but that's the information they gave us to post. That was the...
That's actually, when I spoke with Mr. Peters, that's the address he gave me as well.
Yeah, he...
yeah, I know.
The 300 East was... maybe they have an agreement with a new company there. I'm not sure, but that's the address he confirmed, and Chairman, he said the same thing to you, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually pulled this. He sent this to me after I followed up with Alejandro's work last time around. Okay, so that takes care of 8D. 8E, which is the Veterans Park proposal. Mr. Borman, do you want to head that up, please?
Yeah, thank you. And I also want to thank Gary because he gave me some good pointers that should be brought up regarding this topic, the scope of the project. For opening statements, and again, to bring up a point that Alex brought up during our last meeting, would be the no cost to the town of Miami Lakes. There would absolutely be no cost to the town of Miami Lakes. Whatever funds are needed will be done by sponsors, donations from local companies, and events that we would promote. The next point he brought up would be the location. The location would most likely be a park that already exists. I had the privilege of speaking to Danny Angel, who's in charge of our parks, and Danny gave me some ideas. He's supposed to supply us with some information of what it would take to rename a park. And there are some parks here that could use a name. A good example would be one by the Mary Collins Center. I believe it's called the Picnic Park. I think
Picnic Park West. Right.
Picnic Park West. I think that would be an ideal location, but that's only my idea. We need to hear from the committee to decide, what park you would feel would be the best. Some of the things the committee could be doing, the subcommittee, would be photographs, samples of existing projects from other cities. An example would be the park in Doral or the park in Hialeah. They have veterans parks that are beautiful, and perhaps some pictures of that put together for when we do our presentation. Hopefully it'll be a PowerPoint presentation to the council. This will help us get that approved. Some of the other resources that we would consider that Gary brought up, I'd like to mention, would be the local Boy Scout groups, who, if I'm not mistaken, were already approved at one point to put a monument in one of the parks. Gary, could you elaborate on that just a minute?
On that one, Yeah, that was an Eagle Scout project that got approved. I went through the process with Eagle Scout and through Danny. It was on the west end of the park, the little park behind MLK 8 on the west end, which is a little hill there. I have the sample, I mean, I have the whole thing, how it looked. But that went easy, but they provided, the scouts would have provided the electrical work, the engineering work, everything, which is part of the notes that I included to you. But
and just to elaborate on that, I mean, the very fact that the town of Miami Lakes went right along with it, went through smoothly, and of course, had not been for the COVID, this thing would have already been in place.
Right.
Correct? Another thing would be, we have a post member who, another thing we brought up would be the possibility of bringing in an actual tank, maybe a World War II tank, or maybe a Korean anti-aircraft gun, some type of monument, so we could have symbolic to the veterans that would bring about more awareness.
Right.
It could be added to the park. And from my understanding, the National Guard is very good at supplying the local veterans committees and towns with these sort of artifacts. There are a lot of other things that need to be done, and it needs organization. And what we basically need here would be to go ahead and get this committee formed. And one of the things we will need to do would be to nominate a chair of this committee. And I personally think that Alex would be great for this chair. And if it's okay at this point, I'd like to go ahead and nominate Alex for the chair of the Veterans Park Committee.
If I may, through the committee chair, at the last meeting, the subcommittee itself would choose its board. We just have to narrow down who's going to be on the subcommittee,
right,
and go from there. Thank you, Larry, for the consideration.
I love your organizational skills. You're really articulate. I think you'd be the right person for the job. And I think that the majority of our committee will agree with me on that. But again, what you said, the first thing to do then would be to go ahead and ask for volunteers for that committee. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our chairperson to initiate, if you would, Mike.
Of course. Thank you, Dan, and a good point, Alejandro. Unfortunately, we're finding ourselves in a bit of a situation where we have 11 members, 12 when Mr. Gonzalez joins us, which he should be swearing in shortly. But with that, we have 7 people here, and that was the trend last go around. So I don't know if we were to form a subcommittee, which would take at least, I'm thinking, 4 people. We basically take the people that have been here the last couple of meetings. So I don't know at this time if it's worth putting together a subcommittee, or if we just take this on with some sense of direction, which would be fact finding, and then we move ahead together rather than parsing it out to an even smaller group. What do you guys think?
If I may, Mr. Chair, I think we need to pursue this the same way that we pursue our Veterans Day Parade, which is many parts make a whole. Where there are many committees within the town that I believe should partake in this. For example, neighborhood improvement community, because it's a park. We're gonna be a portion of it. So we shouldn't narrow it down to just members of the Veterans Committee. We should do it the same way that we do the Veterans Committee and involve other committees. Cultural affairs, I don't know if they would be too involved because they're more based on the events of the town. But maybe elderly affairs, for sure, neighborhood improvement and public safety. And then we can, start branching out from there.
That's a great point. Thank you. The next thought then would be, if we're going to put together a committee that pulls in folks from other specialties, then perhaps it would be a better idea if we had at least a straw man, so that when we opened up assumedly we would have one of our members chair that committee. And then when we bring in the other committees, the neighborhood improvement, elderly affairs, public safety, we would be able to then at least provide them with a way ahead, rather than, sit down and say, hey, we're not really sure what direction we're going or how we want to do this. So what do you think about we at least take the time to put something together so that when we form the subcommittee and meet with the members from the other committees, at least we have some sense of direction rather than leaving it up to them to define it for us, and we can provide to them instead what direction we think we're going to go.
We can do that too.
Hmm.
We can do that too, because at the end of the day, the foundational, the spark of the idea came from Larry, Veterans Committee.
So,
but I know Rudy, he's chair of the Neighborhood Improvement Committee, if I'm not mistaken, still will, really?
That's
right?
That's correct, sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Rudy, and then, you know, we can reach out to public safety. I don't know who the chair of public safety is right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's many committees.
Larry, what do you think about that? Do we take the time to put this together? I'm sorry. Let me back up a second. William, we talked about, it's been difficult for us to communicate with one another because we don't have one another's emails or phone numbers. And so we're left having to wait for a committee meeting. Without violating sunshine laws, we can still coordinate to a lesser degree. And if we had one another's contact, and you were going to see if that was appropriate to provide to us. What did they say about that?
As far as committee members cannot talk to each other, they could talk to me, and I forward the message to the committee as a whole. As far as having contact numbers, no committee business should be discussed without being in a setting like this, in a meeting setting.
I have a question, Willie. Willie, would it be possible for perhaps us to draft a letter basically outlining what we're looking for in an exploratory committee and have that send that to the other chairs of the other committees?
Well,
if I may.
Go ahead.
If I may.
Alejandro, yeah. Please.
There are meetings that take place. I attended many of them when I was chair of this committee, between all the committee heads and the town manager. They happen periodically. Have they not happened since the pandemic began, Willie?
We actually, good question. We had one since the pandemic. It was last month, and I think that they're supposed to be quarterly. So
yes.
They had been delayed because thanks to COVID, but we're back on track, and the next one should then be in June.
June.
Yeah. So that's a great, certainly. I mean, I suppose we could wait until June, and then we'll bring that up as a talking point in that meeting, if that's acceptable to you, Larry.
I think that that could be a good idea. The nice thing about this is we're not in a hurry. There's no emergency here. We can take our time and just do everything right.
Hmm.
Dot the I's, cross the T's, and just do everything the way we need to. If we have to wait till June, and what do you think about it, Willie?
That's a great idea. There's no sense in hurrying something, doing halfway and not getting the right message across, which is important. And we definitely need the Neighborhood Improvement Committee because it involves areas that they may be close to, and they could object or say nay or somewhere else.
Any thoughts on that, Ed?
I was gonna say, I think that's a great idea because we can like firm up our proposal. That way we can just, or whoever, I assume it would be you, Mr. Chair, could communicate it to the other chairpersons of the committee in the June meeting. That gives us what, two months? I mean, I don't know when that general chair meeting is, but we're in mid-April right now. So I think it could strengthen, because my understanding is we haven't picked a location, right? There was a recommendation from Larry, but I think we should get all that nailed down before we go talk to any of the committees.
And I think it was mentioned at the last meeting, given that there are other towns that have done this, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
So, we can.
I just think it would be a good idea to have all our T's crossed and our I's dotted before presenting this. And by waiting till June, I think that'll give us enough time to firm up our proposal.
More homework.
Larry, you said that Daniel suggested places, right?
No, he didn't, but he did talk about the process for renaming a park. And he's supposed to forward us that. That's a little bit down the road. First, we need to select a park. But the idea that the parks are open and there's a certain path, a certain way, procedure into getting a park renamed. And that's one of the things we would need to do from the get-go, would be rename the park Veterans Park, or Miami Lakes Veterans Park.
All right, then. And then, William, because we can't talk to each other outside the confines of our meetings here, how do we move forward if we're trying to coordinate with one another and divvy up responsibilities? For example, the notion of talking to Doral, Hialeah. I think there's a park in Clearwater. I know there's veteran parks in several locations. How would we coordinate with one another to make sure that we're not duplicating effort?
Chairman, what we could do is let's go back and revisit the subcommittee. We could set up the subcommittee, and at that point, those assignments could be made to the committee members, or you could assign them as early as today if you want, tonight, to assign the members who want to participate in this on this research.
Yeah.
The if you got, we have to look for a date for the subcommittee, which I'll work with the town clerk to see what's available, and we can set one up. This next 2 weeks is typical, but the next cycle of committee meetings, we can look for a time for the subcommittee.
Yeah. Well, if there are no objections, then can we table this for the time being rather than, just run off half-cocked and look at coming back together with the subcommittee, who we're going to include, and then the way forward with how we're going to proceed with identifying our requirements?
I agree, but I think that you mentioned that June would be the meeting with the other committee heads, right? Committee chairs. And so we want to get this going before June. That gives us a couple of months. So I think by tonight we can get a few volunteers to volunteer, and then we go ahead and Willie can set up a meeting for these volunteers at the next Zoom meeting that's scheduled. And at that point we say, okay, you go out and take some pictures, you do this, you do that. So when the time comes for you to make that presentation, we have all the information for you, Mike.
Well, that sounds great. Is there anybody, let me ask this because there's so few of us, is there anybody that doesn't want to be involved in the effort?
I like that. That was good.
What did you say, Larry?
I like that. Gary, you're killing me with that background. I mean, they're like Spock or something.
He's in space.
So you're barking up the wrong tree.
What we'll do then for to facilitate the development of the subcommittee, for the time being, we'll include everybody in our committee, which will be the six of us and Daniel provisionally, and then we'll move forward. So William, if you can find a date that we can all meet again, then those that can will be there at the meeting, and we can move forward. And those that can't, we'll pick up in their absence. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike. One other thing, if in the meantime, in your wisdom, sir, if you could maybe get a list of before the meeting of things that you think would be important or required for the for us to research, and at that time we can assign those jobs to whoever's at the meeting.
I think as Ed suggested when we talked about moving forward, given the fact that some other towns have done this, it'll be a simple matter of us reaching out to other towns. I don't mind reaching out to the town of Clearwater. I happened to be in that area a few weeks ago, and I saw they had a beautiful veterans park. I don't mind calling City Hall and saying, hey, who was it that put this together? Can you put me in touch with them? So I'll take on Clearwater. I know there's one in Hialeah and there's one in Doral. Does anybody want to take on the Hialeah Park?
I'll do it.
Okay, Larry. And then the last one is in Doral. It would be be a simple matter of calling the Doral, and they have two. They have the big part that is, I think, about a mile around with a lake in the middle. And then they have a small pocket park. That's the one that's labeled as the veteran park. And
190 Northwest 33rd Street. I'll take that one.
okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Willie,
All right, then, without further ado, we can close out 8E and move on to new business.
I have a question for Willie through the chair. Do you have an idea of when that meeting would be? Like how soon we could have it?
Ed, I'll send the committee the dates for the rest of the year. I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you, Ed.
For the chair meeting, right, Ed?
For the subcommittee, yeah. When would there be availability for the subcommittee?
Oh, for the subcommittee, if you guys organize. Yeah. I'll check with the town clerk tomorrow.
Okay, and then you'll send us an email?
What's available, correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Great. Good work then. Let's close out 8E and move on to new business. I don't know if anybody's aware of this. I was contacted by Mr. Luis Cayazzo a few months back, and it appeared that this was an initiative that Naib had a hand in, and it was crisis intervention training for the Miami-Dade Police Department, which I think numbers around 3,000, one of the larger police forces in the country. And what was identified was, you're probably familiar, they have crisis intervention teams, people that are specially trained in a 40-hour, 1-week course to deal with people that are going through some stressors and acting up. So rather than just go in heavy-handed, they bring in some psychologists who are always available, and they have people that are trained on the force to kind of talk these guys down, or citizens down. And so it was suggested that veterans are their own special group, and a lot of people who have issues having left the service, suicidal ideation, etc. What better way to relate to those people and talking them down than by having another veteran talk to them? So crisis intervention training has a few hours dedicated to the resources available to veterans, but the Miami-Dade Police Department and their steering committee asked if we would be involved, if we would be willing to sit on their steering committee and provide suggestions with how we could best address veteran issues, especially when involved in a crisis. So substance abuse, homelessness, domestic violence, if there are those kinds of issues, having somebody say, hey, I was with the 103rd, Rakasans, hey, we're all brothers, hey, take it easy, put that thing down, that kind of thing. So I don't know if we're the best people for it. I mean, we were invited. I sat in on a couple of meetings, and I realized that I don't really know what we can provide. I reached out to the Veterans Administration, and I talked with them and said, hey, I think you guys would be better suited to address the needs of the Miami-Dade Police Department in developing training for their crisis intervention team. And so they were going to reach out to some of their subject matter experts. But important to note, with one of the questions we asked early on was, how many veterans are we talking about? Like what is the number before we look at correcting a problem? How big is the problem? And they identified at the time, this was pre-COVID, or right when COVID started, that there were 3,000 some odd interactions that resulted in crisis intervention teams being called to intercede, again, with substance abuse, mental health issues, domestic violence with somebody who's identified as a veteran. And of the 3,000 cases, there were 59 that involved veterans. So I don't know if it really is the best use of our resources to develop training that's going to capture 60 people out of 3,000. And certainly I think it might be prudent to provide suggestions. if we have particular thoughts on how to proceed. But again, I don't think it's really a place for us. So the question is there anybody that would like, it's a Zoom meeting, it's once every couple of months. If there's anybody that has an interest or a background in, you know, community interaction, mental health, policing, then this would be a great opportunity. They've got quite a team assembled. This would be a great opportunity to be able to influence the end product.
If I need to the chair, I don't think any of us here have the training for that. However, there's a great resource through the VA called the Veterans Crisis Line. That every time you call the VA, the first thing they ask you for an appointment is, are you aware of the Veterans Crisis Line? Do you know how to use it? Just in case you're ever in a crisis situation. They have a website, and you know that is the VA's go-to every time. But for example, when I call to make an appointment, one of their screening questions is, do you know the Veterans Crisis Line? Do you know the phone? They want to make sure that every veteran knows about it. So if Miami-Dade Police Department doesn't know about it, it can be a great advantage for them to know about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Alejandro, you really came in muffled. What were you saying?
Sorry about that. It's just my other microphone died. Is this better?
Yeah, much better.
Yes.
Okay. So the Department of Veterans Affairs has a line called the Veterans Crisis Line. Every time you make an appointment, every time there's a screening for something, whether it be, you know, just coming in for a vaccine or going in for a regular checkup, they ask you if you know what the Veterans Crisis Line is and if you're aware of the phone number. Even online, there's a chat. So if somebody doesn't want to call and they want to chat, they are able to do so. I do believe it can be a great resource for the Miami-Dade Police Department to have this within their purview in their toolbox.
Yeah, thank you. And they do actually, they're connected now with the VA, and specifically on-call psychologists who work with the mental health issues. And then apparently they're supposed to be available to go to the scene in case they have to actually talk to somebody that's going through a crisis. But that's worth noting, and it's on their website, the number. They're looking for specifically training that the police can take or can be given, as well as resources that might be available that would help them address specifically veterans. And in some communities, they've done this where they have a larger veteran committee of people, you know, that have been in the service. But as I said here, it didn't appear, just based on the numbers, that it was really a significant issue in South Florida. But if anybody's interested in joining the committee, I'll sign you up and I'll send you the information for the next CIT steering committee meeting. The good thing is it's not a lot of the big players in the Miami-Dade Police Department, people in Miami. So if you're so inclined, it might be good.
If I may, I can share my screen because I have that window up right now that has all the information for the Veterans Crisis Line, but I just have to be given permission by whoever's running the Zoom meeting, like whoever is the host of it, so I can share that screen.
Well, would you mind, perhaps we could send it to William and William could send it out, because we have just a couple of minutes left and we have one last item that I don't know if we're going to have time to address. William?
Chair, you may proceed.
So if that's all right, Alec, if you wouldn't mind sending that to William and you can send it out to us. All right, then so is there anybody interested in joining that steering committee as a representative of the town of Miami Lakes?
That may be something that could work together with the mental health committee, which I'm a member of.
Ah, very good. You seem to be an excellent bridge then, Mr. Cardenas. I thank you for volunteering.
And we have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay, great. So then, if you don't mind, I'll pass you the information.
Okay.
Great, thank you, sir. And then lastly, we received this budget, which again, item 9B should read Veterans Committee budget. And it was sent in the form of a budget line, you know, from accounting. So I just cut and pasted what we received and I put it back in here because I wanted to talk about it specifically since I'm really not sure what I'm looking at. William, can I ask you to please provide some insight on what we're looking at with the numbers?
Yes, sir. So attach, you should have your budget as well for this year.
Right.
And it breaks it down. We have 500 in the CARES package for the veterans. We have 250 in the vets pass away too. The military banners, which is 2,500. The tree ceremony, Arbor Day, $1,000, which that's going to be used for the event next week. And then we have 250 for. You see the last one? You guys are seeing the
Yeah.
the budget?
Right. Yeah, I can't figure that
the
out.
shirts, right?
Yep.
The second one is for what specifically?
That line item has been there, and I believe, and Gary, please correct me if I'm wrong. That's for fallen heroes, correct?
Which one?
Line item 2.
Number 2.
Yep.
At one time, we had an item there that was for fallen veterans and members who sent maybe flowers and cards, which we never have done. Remember?
We did it for John Collins. That I remember.
And we did it for
Way back.
We did it for Mr. Senra, but I think Larry did that out of pocket and we never reimbursed
Correct.
him.
He was never reimbursed.
Mhm. So, but William, is this for the which year? 2021 fiscal year?
Yeah, this is our fiscal year now, and
Yep.
by our next meeting, by the May meeting, we need to decide. We need direction from the committee to keep the budget as is, request more funding, because that's due in May to the finance department. So our next meeting will be very important for the budget.
And then if I could, this budget that's reflected for 2021, is this what the budget has been? Because I don't see the Jingle Bell Jog or the Veterans Day Parade. So was this scaled down a bit from last year?
Well, the Jingle Bell.
Well,
I'm sorry.
that's self-funded.
Yeah,
That's
it's self-funded, and
Yeah.
the parade comes from a different budget.
Yeah.
Right.
But was our budget always 4,500 or has it been reduced?
No, it has increased over the years.
Well, it had increased until recently, and then I think
This-
it went down. William, did the budget decrease over the last year or two?
The last 2 years I've been here, it's been the same.
Okay.
It's a committee. The committee has opportunity now to request additional funds. This is what the budget request here for 2021, 2022.
Okay.
And Willie, that has to be done by the next meeting, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
But we have to provide our proposal at that time.
Yes, sir. You
Okay.
get the committee gives me direction. I write it up, send it to finance.
Okay.
Something that
Do we have, excuse me, do we have time right now to discuss this or do we have to get off?
We can allocate a few more minutes, Michael. It depends
Okay.
how deep.
Is everybody willing to discuss this for a few moments?
That's fine. Yeah. What's that last item, the 250, Willie?
That's for the shirts.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yep.
Now we had talked about this briefly. The Jingle Bell Jog had provided us with an $800 left over. Besides the check that we gave away for 16,000, we had 800 left over to provide for the the plaques that we're buying. Is that the money that we're using for the plaque purchasing that's going to be completed next week?
Michael, I'm still working with finance to see where that money was placed. In the event that the money's not available because it went to general funds, then we have to reallocate some of these funds that we have here now, which we have. It's just up to the committee to decide where the funding will come from.
And of course, I mean, it wasn't your doing, but we had specifically money that we brought into the town through an event that was sponsored. And so that $800 assumedly shouldn't just disappear. And it shouldn't be tied to fiscal year money because it was apportioned as a result of an event outside of the town fiduciary lines. So who do we have to talk to identify where that money went?
I'm working with the finance department on that, Chairman.
Okay.
And as soon as,
But that
as
money
soon
is
as
going
I
to
get
be
direction-
returned to us, correct? Because I agree 100% with what Michael's been saying. That money was never the town's.
Yeah,
So it shouldn't be in the town's coffers.
I shared the minutes on that meeting as well. with
Okay.
Finance.
Good. The shirts, we bought a few extra shirts from last year so that we would have enough. I think we bought, gosh, maybe somebody we could check, somebody might remember, but I thought we bought like 15, 20 shirts of different sizes. In the eventuality that we had new members come and go, then we would be able to provide them with a shirt without having to go through the rigmarole of having new shirts made up again. Do you know, does anybody know actually how many shirts we have in inventory?
I believe we bought a few extra,
Mhm.
Chairman. I'm going to check tomorrow for Edward, see what's available. But in the meantime, anybody who doesn't have a shirt, please email me with your size so I can see what we have on hand. And next committee meeting, we can vote on this.
Yeah, because Ed needs a shirt, as does Danielle.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I may, Chair, William, the moment I get sworn in, I mean, you'll probably be notified of it, but I'll, as a backup, let you know when I get sworn in so we can get that shirt handled.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Actually, I think you could probably just do it now so we can get the ball rolling. You know, I don't think there's going to be any delay in your being sworn in.
Okay.
Save scheduling it.
But
you know.
Yes, send me a quick note, whoever's missing. I know Larry's going to send me his tonight or tomorrow morning. I'll check, and then I'll let you know we have it on hand. If I have to request from the committee, we'll place the order.
Hey, Alejandro, do you have your shirt?
I do. I still have my original shirt from the first time we ever ordered shirts.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do want to bring something up about the budget. If we could bring back a line item that I haven't seen on the budget in quite a while. We used to do a flag retirement ceremony in February of every year. Oh, sorry about that. We used to do a flag retirement ceremony in February of every year. If that's something we could bring back, I don't know how much that line item was, since it's been a few years, like at least 5 years since the last time we've done it. That's a very nice ceremony that we did with the Boy Scouts, and I think we should bring that tradition back.
And was it a town? Was it the flag that hung in the town center?
Negative. It's town residents that they donate their flags. It falls back to something I brought up a couple months ago, that the Boy Scouts were doing the mailbox for the drop off of the flags. I don't know if you recall me bring that up at the beginning of the year, late last year. But yeah, the Boy Scouts collect, because a flag, you can't just, once it's served its purpose, you can't just throw it away. It has to be retired properly. So there were years where we had 100 flags donated, 200 flags donated, and then they're properly prepped by the Boy Scouts and they're retired.
And we did, and I headed a lot of those retirement ceremonies. We tried mornings, we tried evenings, which is beautiful to do in the evening because of the fire. The problem is that we never had participation. Even from town council, it was difficult to get anyone. But public participation was nearly zilch.
Oh, maybe it would be appropriate to do it on Flag Day.
Which I believe is in February.
June 14th.
June, right?
June 14th.
The birthday of Gary.
I went ahead, Alejandro, I went ahead and wrote this down. So next committee meeting, whatever other recommendations, and then we have to obviously put an amount on this event as well.
Budgets, if you have a historical budget, Scotty said more than likely has it, you'll see a line item for flag retirement. And if I'm not mistaken, we still have the fire pits put away in storage. So
No,
no,
wrong. We even bought one, and we have one donated by Jose, and those fire pits disappeared. The last flag retirement ceremony we did at Picnic Park West. That was Naib's first official act, and the scouts had to bring their own fire pits.
the last one I was at Town Hall in front of the Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, the stuff disappears around town.
All right. So what about the care packages? I remember that came up as, you know, we were looking to donate some items. What was this specifically? You guys that have been on the committee before.
And the $500 just went towards shipping.
What was that, Alec?
The flag retire, I mean, the care packages, the $500 is geared towards shipping. We would do a campaign the same way that the town has done campaigns for shoes and other items. We would do campaigns for items like wipes and socks and things that are a necessity for deployed troops. And we would receive donations, and from there, you know, local universities, local schools, even we got the local elementary schools to participate, and the kids would write letters to the deployed service members. We would do care packages and ship them off, and the $500 were only for shipping costs.
Very good. And then the plaques, the trees, the purchase of the trees and the plaques. William, you had said that we purchased one of the trees and Mr. Senra had purchased the other. But I thought the cost, can you remind me what the cost was? Because I thought it was about $600.
The trees are $650 each. The bricks came out to about approximately $54, and I'm waiting for installation of the bricks.
Okay. And so the Mr. Senra is paying for one of the trees then?
That's correct, sir. A
So
$650 sponsorship.
We'll end up with some extra money, or I mean, in other words, we could probably delete this fund so that Mr. Senra isn't paying out of pocket, again, trying to be a good steward of his money, given that he's so generous with the town. If we have that much allocated for the purchase of the trees, then we can pay for what we can pay for, and then whatever's left over, we'll pass him the bill.
Well, he's agreed to a $650 sponsorship. We have approximately $300 left, and we have to wait for installation, Michael. So we have to make sure we have enough money for the installation of the bricks.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
But
it requires a pad. It requires a pad, I believe, under the tree.
Okay. All right. Very good then. So I guess we're not going to, if we could, given that the next meeting is the meeting that we're supposed to present our budget, perhaps if you wouldn't mind. And Pedro, we haven't heard much from you. I know you're kind of far away there, but you've been involved with the committee for a long time. If you could think of, everybody, if you could think of some items that we might add and request monies from the town, then next meeting obviously will be the time that we do that. And rather than keep everybody here for another 20 minutes discussing it, you can see now we have a better sense of what our budget is, what the items are, and if we can think of a few things that we might include or take out of here and reallocate, that would be great if we could bring that up for the next meeting, and we'll include that in our old business.
Real quick, Mr. Chair, if I may. Hello. When is the next meeting for to present the budget?
Our next meeting's in May. That's when
Gary's point is our meeting is going to be the second or third Tuesday of the month, which should be May 18th. When is the budget meeting?
During that meeting,
right.
Yeah, that night, the committee needs to give me direction on the budget.
Okay, so you don't need it before that date?
No,
then?
no. Okay. And
okay, that's.
So when would that be exact? Do you have the exact date, Willie?
The next meeting, May 18th is what you got, Gary? I mean, I'm sorry, Michael?
Yeah. No. Right, that's correct.
May 18th would be the third Tuesday in May, so I assume that's the right one.
That's correct, yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be at 7 p.m.?
Yes, sir, yep.
Okay.
This is a meeting within the committee. It's not, from what the direction the committee gives me that night, I prepare the spreadsheet and send it to finance.
Okay.
All right. So, then to
And I can
recap,
send, in preparation, I can send you the spreadsheet that the committee completed last year, if you like, Michael. And
Fantastic.
Chairman.
Would you mind sending it to all the committee members, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, then just to recap for our, homework, Larry, you're gonna be checking with the city of Hialeah. Alex, you're gonna be checking with, the city of Doral. I'll be checking with the city of Clearwater to check, to see how they went about, initiating their park. Gary, you're going to be addressing with your committee the which is mental health, the appropriateness of getting involved with the crisis intervention training that Miami-Dade Police Department does. And then all of us will be collectively putting together thoughts on monies that we're going to spend, because the fiscal year, we go by fiscal year September to September. Or October to September?
October to September.
Yep. So September 30th then will be
Correct.
The last day of our fiscal year monies, and we'll be into our new budget. Yeah. So if you could think of a few things that we might want to do that we haven't done, and I think we talked about it a little bit last time around. You know, COVID has changed some things up for us. And, you know, I think it was quite admirable that we dedicated our efforts to PTSD, but taking on some other projects that impact veterans, whether that's the park or providing care packages, or everybody's familiar with Gold Star families, which are families who have lost somebody in the service. And so perhaps something where we can honor the families of that have lost somebody through the Gold Star program, whether that's you know, providing them something at their home, or for example, Jack Ryan Ostrovsky. I don't know if there's something that we could provide to his family in the form of a Gold Star that you know, they would figure prominently hanging outside their house or in their garden. Just food for thought. So does any of the other committee members have anything to add before we adjourn our meeting?
William, is he there?
He just stepped up.
Yeah,
He just stepped out. There he is.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
William, could you find out from Gina what the status is with Alex Mello? He had applied for to be member of the committee.
Alex Mello? I will, sir.
Yeah, all right.
And then William, you're going to check on the monies that we had allocated for the plaques. Yeah. From our event last year. And what else were you going to check into?
Yes, sir. And I'll send you guys the budget that went up last year from the committee.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much then. If there's no objection, I move to adjourn our meeting at 8:25 p.m. Is it seconded?
Second.
Mr. Gary Cardenas seconds the meeting. I wish you all a wonderful week and look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
See you guys.
All right. Have a
Thank
great
you,
day.
guys. Good night.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Night.
Hi, fellows.